Hi guys, this is Christine, your relationship and mindset mastery doctor and your leverage for change. So today I'm going to be speaking about how, just kind of give some examples of what a child um, and grown into an adult, how their background may have shaped their attachment style. And I want to kind of put it up against the secure attachment style, which is the ideal attachment style, which will give an individual a good, the best chance of having healthy relationships and really a successful life in general, right? So basically, I'm just going to kind of go, and that I'm just focusing today on the dismissive avoidant attachment style individual. So to do that, though, we have to go back to take a journey back to when these adults were children. As humans, we kind of experience and make sense of our world through our five senses. But for this particular example, I'm going to focus on three of those senses: what we see, what we hear, and what we feel in terms of physical touch, right? Because it is through these senses that not only do we experience our world, but it also serves to create our image, or self-image, or understanding of our worth, and just basically our belief system of who we believe that we are. As children, our world is going to consist primarily of our caregivers and those immediately around us. So, for example, family members, cousins, uncles, aunts, grandparents, nieces of those uncles, and the nieces of your parents, and people like that, right? So it's going to be a very small world, and it is these individuals that's going to really have an effect on the attachment style that you will form at this early stage, and will more than likely carry into your adult relationships. So at an innate level, guys, as children, we know that our survival is dependent on those people who care for us. If we want food and they're not there to give it to us, we know we're going to starve to death. We sense that. It's something that we kind of sense, that we know our survival is dependent on these people who care for us, whether it be a grandmother, a parent, a father, a mother, you know what I mean. So we know that, and so we kind of trust that they're doing the best for us. So when someone does whatever it is that they do, we are always thinking that they're doing the best for us. And the problem is that sometimes when it is not something good that they're doing for us, we actually believe that this is normal because we know nothing more, because we're children, right? So you believe that this is normal, and this is probably what love looks like, or what caring for someone you love, because you're assuming that your parents love you, right? And that they're going to want to do the best for you. So you're understanding all of the things that you're seeing, hearing, and any kind of physical touch through the lens that these people, first of all, they're adults, so they know more than I do, right? You kind of have that innate understanding. And then they know more than you do, so they should know the best, and they are looking out for your best because they're your parents and they should love you, right? You kind of have that kind of a thing that these people should be caring for you, not harming you. So at that level, because of that, and because certain parts of also the frontal cortex is not yet fully developed, and the frontal cortex is what really makes sense of everything that's happening, because it gives it like a kind of a for example, it kind of makes sense of what's happening to see if it's something that it should be accepted or not. But at that time, it's not fully developed, and so once the amygdala it starts, or everything begins with the amygdala, right? The fight, flight, or freeze. That's the part of the brain that is probably the oldest part of the brain, because it kind of is for our protection. And so immediately, if we have an experience, say for example, that hurt us in the past, and something similar happens, it does not stop to say, is this a threat? if it's similar, or any closeness to what happened in the past that hurt you, it is going to tell you to run, right? It's going to tell you to take care of yourself by either running, fighting, or freezing, to appear as if you're dead, like in the animal war, in Animal Kingdom. So anyway, there's a hippocampus now, that is the other part of the brain that is really the connection between the amygdala and the frontal cortex of the brain. The hippocampus kind of give whatever is happening in the amygdala some type of context. So for example, when you maybe you see maybe a dog bit you earlier, and now you see a little tiny chihuahua, or not, they're kind of crazy anyway. The little, maybe you see a little tiny cute dog coming up, and you're getting all panicky because you're thinking that a dog bit you before, this is a dog, it's going to bite me, right? But what the hippocampus does, it really looks at the context of what's happening around you and say, no, the dog that bit before was loose, it was not on a leash, and this one coming up here is a little tiny dog that is on a leash, and if that little dog is going to bite me, I can at least push it away because it's tiny, right? And you're now an adult. So the hippocampus helps to give that meaning and that context to what's happening. And the frontal cortex now, what it does is now it decides. It is the one that makes the decision as to how you're going to act. So, okay, so this little dog is tiny and won't harm me. So I can continue walking forward, towards that dog because it won't harm me. So it directs your actions pretty much, right? So understanding that as a child, depending on the age that this child is when they're experiencing whatever they're experiencing in their home, they are not going to have all of those brain functions right, ready to really assess the situation correctly. So they're going to simply accept it to be true. And what is difficult is that once they accept it to be true, and if it's a continuous repetitive action that's being done to them, if they're continue being cursed out, beaten, sexually abused, whatever it is, those things now become embedded into their subconscious, and it is through those lenses that the child grows up to now look at every single challenge and life itself, and how to understand and act in life, to meet those challenges in their adult life, right? So just kind of a background, guys. But anyway, I wanted to kind of give two scenarios with these two different children, and I don't want to, instead of saying him or her, I'm just going to say you. And you can look and see which one of these child is more like you. But remember, self-diagnosis is really not one of the best things. You need to really speak with someone who kind of have more information, because also remember that what I'm going to give you some examples right now is not set in stone. There's always a spectrum along which a person is. Nobody is a robot. So we all have different experiences at different levels. So everybody is going to have different, nuances to their attachment styles. So for example, imagine two different children, two different homes. They grew up in two different homes. Child number one sees his parents caring for each other, right? The home is usually clean and organized, and there is little danger of the child getting hurt because things are put into place. There's no maybe it's child proof, so that they don't go and push their finger into an electric thing and burn themselves. Maybe knives are not just left around and things that could hurt them. So this child is protected, right? And usually the environment is calm and he feels safe, and usually the parents are in close proximity of the child, or at least they're able to watch the child from something. Nowadays they have cameras, to watch a child if they're not in the same room. Now they're able to do that so that they can, rescue the child or protect the child if there's any kind of a sense of any harm happening to them. Now, child number two rarely sees his parents, lives in a home where he sees a lot of fighting, things are scattered everywhere, lots of disarray, and there's just a lot of mess everywhere. Nobody's really taking care of anything. There's always a lot of threat of him getting hurt because things are just left around, and he has to kind of navigate that kind of all like a minefield every single day. Different people, he'll probably see a lot of different people coming and going and not even knowing who they are in the house, and never really knows when their parents will be home, because they come and they go, and they really don't say anything to the child. He's just there. Feels like he's surrounded by chaos all the time, and this child feels very unsafe. In another scenario, child number one, the environment is filled with laughter, people having, just being cordial to each other or having fun. There's usually some kind of a baby or child kind of a cartoon or something going on to entertain them, or the parents have them kind of in the midst of their watching TV or doing whatever it is. And, there is usually a kind of very calm and secure feeling in the home. The parents are usually close by and readily available if the child cries, and they're ready, they're quickly taken care of, right? Maybe not immediately, guys, because sometimes it's not possible, but the child knows that the parent is coming to take care of them, right? Child number two could have quite a different experience. The environment probably mostly noisy with a lot of shouting and arguing, usually so loud that the child feels invisible, because it's like he's just there and nobody sees him. Even when he cries for someone to help satisfy a need, this child is not heard, pushed away, or just simply ignored. This child learns very early that their needs are not important, and after many attempts of asking for help or attention with no success, this child learns to fulfill his own needs. He learns not to ask for help. Do you know somebody like that now in this, your adult relationship, who will not ask for help? They'll help you, but they will not ask for help. Child number one again, in this child, which is more like the secure child, right? Hugs and cuddles are normal for him, comfortable with physical closeness. The parents is going to encourage this child to ask questions and will make time to sit with this child and have actual conversations, even though the child is not talking, which is going to encourage speech in this child, right? And expressions. This child is encouraged to try new things, and the caregivers help him to understand that failure is just a part of learning something new. So when this child fails and does not do something right, he's encouraged to try again and again and again until he gets it right, right? This child feels seen, heard, and understood by his parents or caregivers, right? And the child number two, which is going to be the dismissive avoidant child. If and when he approaches his parents or caregivers, he's pushed away or told to go and find something to do, as they don't have time for hugs. Physical touch is withheld and not encouraged. When this child asks questions, he's told to shut up and stop asking silly questions. The caregivers never take time to teach this child or new things or to encourage this child in any way. When he does something wrong, he's told he's stupid and will never amount to anything. If he tries to hug his caregiver, he's told hugs are for sissies. And he believes that because, of course, he believes these people who are supposed to be older than him and have more knowledge than him and who should love him. And if he told them that hugs are for sissies, he's going to believe them, right? He learns to keep to himself so as not to aggravate his caregivers. And this child suffers silently. Now, what do you think these two children is going to grow up believing about themselves? Child number one will believe that he or she can accomplish anything they put their minds to. And it's okay to fail. That is just a part of the process of learning something new. This child will know that he or she is worthy of love and that he is wanted and loved, and that it's okay to express emotions in a healthy way. This child will trust others because they learn to trust that their parents was going to be there when they were young, right? To be there for him or her when he needs them. And he or she easily expresses their needs and expects them to be satisfied, right? This child, then child number two now, which is going to be the dismissive, is going to grow up to be someone with a dismissive avoidant attachment style, will believe that he cannot trust anyone to be there for them. So they're always taking, that he has to take care of himself. That's the belief. He or she has to take care of themselves. So you'll find that these people, when they grow up, they don't accept help very easily. They feel like they have to do everything for themselves because nobody's going to come and rescue them or do anything for them. Since this child is uncomfortable with emotional connection, they will find ways to busy themselves to avoid situations that will require emotional connection. So these children will either distance them, as adults will distance themselves, or they will just leave the situation, right? And so you'll have them, they might just leave. If it is just too much, they might just leave the situation and break up with that person. And sometimes they don't even break up, they just leave. So this child believes, this child learned, remember, to self-soothe, to deal with a sense of emptiness that they feel daily. So some of these ways that they deal can be very toxic. It could be that drugs, just very hypersexual, excessive gaming, pornography, stuff like that. And another one is going to be like people who just want to work all the time. They're always working 24/7. They're doing something. And if they're not working, they're doing something connected to work. If they're not at work, they're doing something connected to work because they feel safer in that kind of an environment, which does not require any expression of emotions or connection with anyone, right? This child finds it really difficult to connect on a deep level. They're very superficial. They can't go deeper than anything because getting connected to someone on a deeper level require to share yourself and your pain and your hurt and who you really are and your emotions, and they find it very difficult to do that. If not, some people, depending on the extremity of that kind of a way they grew up, maybe can't even do it at all. And they never want to be a burden to others, so they never ask for help, as I mentioned before. Now, I have to tell you that this belief, especially with those people who are not very self-aware and introspective, is really very, very subconscious, because this is something that a lot of them buried, or a lot of the children buried as they grew up, and they just kind of don't even recognize that they're acting from these places through the lens of what they experienced as a child. So they will it will be a subconscious thing, and until this person may have gone through several relationships, may have had many different challenges in this forum, and recognize that there is something that's not right. This is not normal, right? Now, for this particular attachment style, it's very difficult for them to actually even be self-aware, because that requires for you to face the pain and the emotions that come with all of that stuff that you're suffering. And so a lot of individuals, they find it very difficult, and they don't like pain. Most people don't. And but worse, this style, they don't like kind of emotional pain, so they will run away from it all the time. So it's very difficult very rare that you'll find somebody with this attachment style really asking for help, because they don't really want to go to that level of that depth of emotion that they need to go to be able to fix whatever it is. Now, if this person is interested in fixing in any other and with any other attachment style, really, the first step, guys, is to be aware of all of these things that you're experiencing, what you're doing in relationships, all of that. You have to be aware of it. If you're without awareness, you'll never be able to move forward to really make change. So you have to be aware, and what you need to become aware, you have to take it now out of the subconscious and bring it now to the conscious, where you're aware of what's happening. And to do that, the best way I know how to do that is to write it down. So journaling and all of that sort of thing is very important. Or just have a place where you write down, okay, what caused me to feel that way? Write those things down. Write those things down. All the things that you know that is causing problems in your relationship, write them down. So that the next time it happens, you brought it to the forefront, which is the frontal cortex, which makes sense of things. And so now you can say, okay, every time it comes up, you can now identify it immediately and now question it and make, actually start working on changing those patterns, because they are patterns that are ingrained in your subconscious from you were a child that you continue to operate from, right? So guys, Always remember that the first step to change is awareness. And once you write these things down, you now become more aware of your pattern. And that is where you can begin to change your pattern by doing things differently. You don't fight the pattern. You don't fight the things that you're doing that you did before. You replace it with a new pattern. That's how you create change. All right, guys, I hope that kind of helped in some way to kind of give you some idea of how this attachment style, the dismissive avoidant attachment style, was formed, and how you can now become aware of how, by writing it down, and to start the process of healing and changing that toxic pattern that you've operated from all your life. This is Christine, your relationship and mindset mastery doctor and your leverage for change. If you learned something from this, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That way, as soon as I upload something, guys, you will be notified. In the meantime, never ever stop growing. Take care now. Bye-bye.